Command Point now has merch. Link in the description.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the new Kill Team Salvation from, I almost said from Games Workshop. Who else would it be from? Kill Team Salvation, the start of the new season of Kill Team, where our kill teams are going to be fighting on this beta Thessima terrain, beta Decima, beta something, I don't know. We'll get to talking about that in a later video. This video in particular is going to be the first in a three-part series where we talk first about the Striking Scorpion team, or I should say the Blades of Khaine kill team. And we're also going to go into talking about the new Space Marine Scout kill team, and finally the third video will be talking all about the new terrain set and how we think it's going to play, what teams we think are going to be good in this new meta, really, that's going to be defined by this new terrain set. But before we get into today's video, guys, I do need to take a moment and thank our sponsor of this video, Warzone Studio. Warzone Studio was kind enough to provide Shane and I with a couple of mats for us to review. Shane and I, we love the quality of the mats. We use them all the time. They're marked specifically for kill team deployment zones. So make sure you guys check those out. Link in the description down below. My favorite part about, about this entire box, and I guess this new form of kill team packaging that they are going with, is that with your teams, you're going to get all of the data cards printed out on these little handy index cards, and we'll be going through those when we talk about the team today. And you also are getting a set of tokens specific to your kill team. So I can kind of show you what some of the Blades of Khaine tokens are, and they're all like color coded to match your team. We've got one of the Blades of Khaine kill team tokens there. They've got tokens for different abilities. In the instance of the Blades of Khaine, they have different colored ones for like your aspect techniques. We'll talk about those a little bit later. Stuff for equipment, a few other things, smoke grenades, and then of course the Space Marine team comes with their own tokens as well. So really cool. Everything is kind of, you know, I've got all this stuff where I can now like quickly reference like what each of my models do. I'm not constantly having to flip back and forth through a rule book. So really, really happy about that. Not to be outdone, you also get a deck of cards for your kill team as well. As you can see, these are the Blades of Khaine one, and they come with all the tactical ploys, strategic ploys, tac ops, the aspect techniques. What else we got going on here? It's back here. More equipment, so plasma grenade, wraithbone talisman. And then here is the little guide sheet for all the different tokens that come in the little box for you there. So super cool that we now have all of the rules basically printed out and easily able to be quickly referenced during your games of Kill Team. I'm so excited to see what like the Night Lords team stuff is going to be, and I really hope this isn't just for this box set. I think it will be for the entire season. I really hope it is, because it's going to make playing this game a lot easier. So guys, I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's now go into the Striking Scorpion. I keep trying to call it the Striking Scorpion. The Blades of Khaine kill team. It's not just the Striking Scorpion kill team, because there's not just Striking Scorpions in this team. There are also your Howling Banshees and your Dire Avengers as well. So before we get into the data sheets for the team here, let's talk about the big picture stuff. So let's talk about their army-wide ability. So the army-wide ability for the Blades of Khaine kill team is their aspect techniques. So with aspect techniques, they are unique abilities that you will find over the following pages in the rulebook. The thing with these aspect techniques is you cannot use more than one technique per activation. You cannot use each technique more than once per turning point. But if every Blades of Khaine operative selected for deployment has the same aspect keyword, for example, Striking Scorpion, you cannot use each technique more than twice per turning point instead. So there you get a bit of a bonus for going like mono faction basically and not mixing. I don't think that this that little bonus makes it worth going just with like all Striking Scorpions, all Howling Banshees, all Dire Avengers. I think the best way to run this team is going to be by mixing these models, but we'll talk about that and get further into that later. For the aspect techniques for the Striking Scorpions, we first up have Merciless Strikes. So you use this aspect technique at the start of the resolve successful hit step of a fight action performed by a friendly Striking Scorpion operative. If you retained any critical hits until the end of that combat, that operative's melee weapons gain the stun critical hit rule. Next up here we have Patient Stalk Sudden Blow. You use this aspect technique when a friendly Striking Scorpion operative with a conceal order performs the normal move action. During that action, that operative can and must move within engagement range of one or more enemy operatives, but it cannot finish that move there. One enemy operative that it moved within engagement range of suffers D3 plus 2 mortal wounds. I have no idea when you're going to use this. Unless there's something with like literally 2 wounds remaining, then it's like, why not just charge that model, or why not just shoot that model? Why do a normal move running past it? Maybe you're like moving past it, inflict D3 plus 2 mortal wounds, and then shoot it again. I don't know, it seems weird to me. I should preface that Shane and I, we have played a game with me running just the Striking Scorpion Warriors, so I have a bit of an idea of how this team performs. But yeah, just one game so far with them, so keep that in mind. Next up here, we have One with the Gloom. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Striking Scorpion operative moves within one of a light or heavy terrain feature until the start of its next activation. While that operative has a conceal order, it's always treated as having a conceal order, regardless of any other rules, for example, Vantage Point. That one's pretty good. I was able to use that in my game that I had against Shane in order to keep a model alive longer than he otherwise would have, so that's a pretty useful one, I think. Especially if you're just going to be running the Scorpions, you have like no ranged weapons, so you need everything that you have in your arsenal to keep your models safe as you're moving up the board. A lot of teams, you know, a lot of people say a lot of teams that are like melee oriented are like unga bunga, push up the board, think like Felgor Ravagers, think maybe even like Chaos Cult to some extent. This team I think is really unga bunga if you're just running the Striking Scorpions. Next up we have Scorpion's Eye. You use this aspect technique when a friendly Striking Scorpion operative performs the shoot action. Until the end of that shooting attack, that operative's twin shuriken pistols or shuriken pistol gains the indirect special rule, and that operative must make a shooting attack with it against an operative in cover. So the operative that you're targeting has to be in cover when you're shooting with this, but with that indirect special rule, I believe this allows you to target like a model with a conceal order. But you can be within 6 inches of it and target it. I think that's all right. It's all right. I mean, indirect is good. It's a powerful ability. Unfortunately, when we get into the data sheets for this team, you'll see that their range shooting, it's not that great. It's not. Next up, we have Strike and Fade. Use this aspect technique after a friendly Striking Scorpion operative with an engage order incapacitates an enemy operative in combat and is now more than 3 from enemy operatives. Change that friendly operative's order to conceal, and you can immediately perform a free dash action with it. You can do so even if it has performed an action during this activation that prevents it from performing the dash action, for example, charging. So this one's pretty good. It reminds me a lot of the Kabalite kill team, the Hand of the Archon Power from Pain ability, where after incapacitating an enemy, you can get a free dash for the cost of 1 Power from Pain token. So, good ability. So the last aspect technique for the Striking Scorpions here is going to be Merciless Strikes. Use this aspect technique at the start of the resolve successful hit step of a fight action performed by a friendly Striking Scorpion operative. If you retained any crits, until the end of that combat, that operative's melee weapons gain the stun critical hit rule. Stun, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe it takes away one of your opponent's dice in a fight, so it's all right. So I know it kind of feels like we're bouncing all over the place right now. I just wanted to highlight the aspect techniques for you just because they're in line with whatever the whole army does. So like I said, all of those 5 techniques, normally you can only use them once, but if you're running all striking scorpions, you can use each one of those up to twice per round. Or twice per turn, I should say. So a Blades of Kill team, a Blades of Khaine kill team can take up to 8 operatives in the kill team. You must first select a Dire Avenger Exarch, a Howling Banshee Exarch, or a Striking Scorpion Exarch to be your leader. They all have different loadouts. And then you take 7 Blades of Khaine operatives, either Dire Avenger Warriors, Howling Banshee Warriors, or Striking Scorpion Warriors. So not a whole lot of options here. There are not, I mean, outside of the Exarchs, there are no what I would call like specialist models in this team, which is, I mean, that you can argue that like these aspect techniques, the way you use them, it's kind of like you're getting an extra ability that a specialist would. But I mean, like from the ones that I had already showed you guys, it doesn't seem, it's not like you're turning one guy into like a comm specialist who can give somebody +1 APL, you know, at will to whatever model you want. So I don't really think that the army-wide ability makes up for the fact that you're not going to have any specialists in this team. For their archetypes, this kill team can use the Seek and Destroy archetype all the time, and then depending on whatever the most common aspect keyword of your operatives is, so let's say you take more Striking Scorpions than anything else, you can take Infiltration. If you take more Howling Banshees, you can take Recon. If you take more Dire Avengers, you can take Security. So those are your, it's pretty flexible, but your second archetype is going to be tied to whatever the majority of your models in your kill team are. So now let's go into talking about the TAC ops for this team. So the first one I have up here is the Master Techniques. So you reveal this TAC op in the target reveal step of any turning point. If you use all 5 aspect techniques from any aspect in any turning point, you score 1 VP. Note that you must actually use each aspect technique, so you can't just declare, oh, this guy is going to use merciless strikes and then like not fight anybody. And then if you do it a second time in the game, or if you achieve the first condition in any subsequent turning points, you score 1 VP. In my opinion, I don't think this one's very good. I think it's hard to get all of your aspect techniques off in the same turn. And there are some points in games where I think it's like if you have the ability to get all 5 off, it can be detrimental to you to do that. For example, when you're running the Striking Scorpion team, do you want to double up on one really good technique? Or do you want to potentially forego like killing an opponent's model just to get all 5 of your techniques off to get 1 victory point? That's a difficult question. But yeah, I think that one's very hard to score. Next up is Martial Harmony. So reveal this TAC op in the target reveal step of any turning point. At the end of each turning point, check the following 3 criteria. A friendly Dire Avenger operative controls an objective marker. A friendly Striking Scorpion operative is within 6 of an enemy operative. A friendly Howling Banshee operative is within 6 of your opponent's drop zone. At the end of a turning point, if at least 2 of the 3 criteria above are true, you score 1 VP. If you achieve the first condition at the end of any subsequent turning points, you score 1 VP. I think this is probably the best TAC op of the 3 for this faction, simply because you just got to have a single Dire Avenger on like your back objective, and that's 1/2 of the scoring done for you. And then if you're taking Striking Scorpions, just be within 6 of an enemy operative. That's all you got to do. That one's pretty easy, pretty easy. Last, we have Aspect Warfare. So reveal this TAC op in the target reveal step of any turning point. If a friendly Dire Avenger, friendly Howling Banshee, and a friendly Striking Scorpion operative inflict damage on enemy operatives during the same turning point, you score 1 VP. If you achieve the first condition in any subsequent turning points, you score 1 VP. This one, can't really make a final decision on it just because I have not run a mixed aspect of Khaine kill team yet. This one seems achievable for me, but I think there are some other generic seek and destroy or infiltrate or any other kind of like the generic tac ops that I think might be easier to score than this. So of those three, Martial Harmony I think is an auto take for this team, assuming you're running a mixed team, which if you're going to be playing this game competitively, I think you have to. So now let's go ahead and get into the data sheets for these models, starting off here with the Striking Scorpions. The Striking Scorpion Warrior here personally leaves a lot to be desired for me. You move 6, you have 3 APL, which is nice. You have a 4-up save, 8 wounds. That's a good break point, 8 wounds. For its weapons, however, it has a Shuriken Pistol, 4 attacks on 3s, 3-4, range 6 rending. And the Chainsword is a bit of a letdown for me because you only have 4 attacks hitting on 3s, damage 4-5 with rending. The abilities for the warrior is Manda Blasters. So each time this operative performs the fight action, at the end of the select valid target step of that combat, the target suffers 2 mortal wounds. So I mean, that's pretty cool. That, you know, if there's a model that's like, it's got 2 wounds left, you know, you charge into it, you're probably killing it right there. At that point, it's like, well, why did you even charge the model though? Because I mean, you know, if a model's got 2 wounds and you're the one charging, man, you know, all you need is 1 hit and it's dead. I don't really know how useful that Manda Blaster's ability is. Let's go ahead and take a look now at the strike. Oh, I almost forgot the Chainsword. Yeah, the Chainsword, it's so lackluster for me. Only 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, damage 4-5 with rending, and there's no way of like increasing your amount of attacks with the with your Striking Scorpion aspect techniques. Like the one thing that does help you in close combat is, you know, you get stun if you crit. Well, you're only rolling 4 dice. You know, for models that are supposed to be like the close combat experts of the Eldari, they're supposed to be going toe-to-toe with Space Marines in melee combat. 4 attacks with a Chainsword just doesn't do it for me. Now the Exarch, however, I think he's pretty good. Once again, movement 3, 3 APL, 3-up save with 9 wounds. You have a few different options when it comes to your loadout, but my particular favorite one is the Scorpion's Claw and Chainsword with a Shuriken Pistol. So with the Scorpion's Claw and Chainsword, you get 5 attacks on 2s, damage 4-6 with brutal and lethal 5. That's a healthy, that's a healthy melee weapon, I would think. You also get the Manda Blaster's ability, and then because this model is an Exarch, the Exarch ability, this operative can perform 2 shoot or fight actions during its activation. There are only 6 total data sheets in this team, so we'll go ahead now and talk about all of them. The Banshee Warrior also is armed with a Shuriken Pistol, also 3 APL, 4-up save, 8 wounds, 3 movement. They are armed with a power weapon, 4 attacks on 3s, 4-6 with lethal 5. Yeah, looking at these side by side, I definitely want the Howling Banshee Warrior more than I want the Striking Scorpion Warrior. Just because of that power weapon. The Banshee Mask, each time this operative performs the fight action, worsen the weapon skill characteristic of the target operative's weapons by 1 for that combat. This is not cumulative with being injured. I think that's better than the 2 mortals off of Manda Blaster. I think it is. I think it is. You're dropping like the 2 automatic wounds, but you're making your opponent worse at hitting you. I think I'm liking the Howling Banshee Warriors. Let's take a look at the Exarch. The Exarch has a few different weapon options. Let me go ahead and pull that up just so I'm making sure that what goes with what is right. So the Howling Banshee can take either Mirror Swords, a Shuriken Pistol and Executioner, a Shuriken Pistol and Power Weapon, a Triskel, I think that's how it's pronounced, and a Power Weapon, or a Triskel and a Shuriken Pistol. So let's take a look here. So the Mirror Swords are 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, damage 4-6 with lethal 5 and relentless. Like that a lot. The Shuriken pistol, it's the same as all the other ones. The Triskel, 4 on 3s, damage 2, 3, range 6. Torrent 3 with Rending. It's a weird weapon. The power weapon, 5 attacks on 2s, 4, 6 with lethal 5. This other Triskel here at the bottom has 6 attacks hitting on 2s, damage 3, 4 with Reap 2 and Rending. I think I just like the mirror swords. Out of everything, it seems silly to be putting such a lackluster, it's not like a plasma pistol for the Shuriken pistol, you know? So I like the mirror swords a lot, just because of that relentless. So this model also has the Banshee mask, and then since it's an Exarch, it can perform 2 shoot or 2 fight actions during its activation. Stacking it up, oh, I didn't even look at the Executioner. 5 attacks on 2s, damage 3, 7, lethal 5. I think on math, like the mirror swords is gonna be better. Unless you're up against like a 7 wound team. I think like, or Vetguard 7 wound? Vetguard have gotta be 7 wound. So you know, you would wanna take the Executioner just so you can one-shot him on a crit. Let's go ahead now and look at the Dire Avengers. The only source of long-range shooting in this entire team. Let's see how good their shooting is. For the Warriors, Shuriken Catapult, 4 attacks on 3s, damage 3, 4 with Rending. So it's a Rending Bolter. And for their melee weapon, they get Fists. 3 attacks on 3s, damage 3, 4. For abilities, they have Defensive Tactics, so each time this operative performs the Overwatch action, do not worsen the ballistic skill characteristic of its ranged weapons as a result of performing Overwatch. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the Exarch. So the Dire Avenger Exarch, it can either be equipped with one of the following options: a Shuriken Catapult and Fist, Twin Shuriken Catapult and Gun Butts, or one option from each of the following: Dire Sword or Power Weapon, and Shimmer Shield or Shuriken Pistol. So I mean, if I'm taking the Dire Avenger Exarch, would I even want to take a melee option? Let's look at the Dire Sword. Dire Sword's 5 attacks on 2s, damage 4, 5, lethal 5 with Rending. If I want a melee beatstick character, I think I'm just gonna go with the Howling Banshee Mirror Swords. What's the Shimmer Shield do? So the Shimmer Shield, if this operative is equipped with a Shimmer Shield while a friendly Blades of Khaine operative is within 2 of this operative, that friendly operatives have a 4-up invuln save. It's something, but I mean, like, I personally don't value invuln saves very highly unless I'm playing against like Kasserkin or somebody, you know, so a team that can bring a lot of like high strength, long range weapons. The Twin Shuriken Catapults are 4 attacks on 3s, damage 3, 3, with Relentless and Rending. Only 4 attacks, and it's 3, 3, so the max amount of damage that you're gonna be doing is like 12 if your opponent just like whiffs. Yeah, I don't think you take this guy ever. I just don't see... I'm not seeing an out for this guy. I'm not seeing a reason for him to be included in your team. So moving on from the data sheets, let's go ahead now and look at their ploys. Let me get these tactical ploys out of the back here, and we'll take a look at the strat ploys. So strat ploys for this team: Khaine's Vengeance. At the end of the turning point, each time a friendly Blades of Khaine operative makes a shooting attack against an enemy operative that isn't ready in the roll attack dice step of that shooting attack, you can reroll one of your attack dice. So that's pretty decent, an army-wide like CP reroll basically. Next up, we've got Forewarned. At the end of the turning point, each time a shooting attack is made against a friendly Blades of Khaine operative in the roll defense dice step of that shooting attack, you can reroll one of your defense dice. Defensive rerolls, again, shooting in Kill Team, I generally don't like. But in my experience, having a free defense reroll in this game where it's already like, the game is like already on the offensive side, because most of your weapons, you're going to be rolling more attack dice than your defender is rolling defense dice. You know, with some of the higher strength weapons out there that do a lot of damage, you could get one shot even if you're using something like that. So I don't know how useful that one is. We have Ruthless Poise. So until the end of the turning point, each time an active friendly Blades of Khaine operative fights in combat against an enemy operative that is ready in the roll attack dice step of that combat, you can reroll one of your attack dice. That one I like. And I mean, hey, like those Striking Scorpion Warriors, they definitely need all the rerolls they can get because they only have 4 dice, so you got to make them count. Actually, now that I think about it, how many do the... Yeah, the Howling Banshee Warriors, they have the same amount of attacks, but they have lethal 5 and they're damage 4/6, as opposed to 4 attacks on 4 or 5 of rending with the chainswords. Yeah. There is Eminent Grace, add 1 to the movement characteristic of friendly Blades of Khaine operatives, and then friendly Blades of Khaine operatives can move around, across, and over other friendly Blades of Khaine operatives and their bases as if they were not there, but cannot finish the move on top of them or their bases. So, you know, adds a little bit more mobility, pretty good for like setting up early game. Yeah, and I guess if you find that you have parking lotted yourself, you know, in a game, that helps you get out of it. For the tactical ploys, we have got Contempt. You can use this tactical ploy in the roll attack dice step of either a combat, in which a friendly operative is not the active operative, or a shooting attack made against a friendly operative. For that combat or shooting attack, your opponent cannot reroll their attack dice. Note that you use this tactical ploy after seeing the result of your opponent's initial roll, but before rerolls. If your opponent declared the use of the command reroll tactical ploy, it's canceled and their command point is refunded. So that last bit of text there in the parentheses, I'm a really big fan of. That helps a lot of the like, potential issues with this card, where, you know, my opponent rolls their dice, I look at their dice, they look at their dice. I'm thinking if I want to use this, and then they say, I'm going to attack reroll, and then they pick up their dice and begin to roll, then I can say, Contempt, stop that. And it's cut and dry. You know, they can't do it. So next up, we have got Blade Wind. Use this tactical ploy during a friendly Blades of Khaine operative's activation, excluding an Exarch operative. Until the end of its activation, that operative can perform 2 fight actions. So one of your regular warriors can become like a pseudo Exarch almost. We have Fading Light. Use this tactical play when a friendly Blades of Khaine operative is activated. Until the end of the activation, you can perform the fallback action for 1 less action point to a minimum of 0 AP. I don't know when you would ever want to do that unless one of like your Dire Avengers gets charged. Yeah, I don't know. Starfall. Use this tactical ploy during a friendly Blades of Khaine operative's activation, excluding an Exarch operative until the end of its activation. That unit can perform 2 shoot actions. Let's go ahead now and talk about their equipment. So they have plasma grenades for 3 equipment points. You've seen this profile before a million times. I'm not going to go over it here. Wraithbone Talisman. Other teams like Void Dancers have access to this. So it's 3 EP. I'm not going to go over it here. Weaponized Panoply. Weaponized Panoply for 1 equipment point. Dire Avenger operative only. Select fists or gun butts the operative is equipped with. Add 1 to that weapon's attack characteristic for the battle. So they go up from 3 attacks to, what is it, 4? 4 attacks on 3s, damage 3, 4. I mean, there's frankly just better melee options in the team, so I don't know how often you would use that. It is only 1 AP, so if you need it to like round out, you know, say you got like 8 equipment points used, you know, you got 2 left to spend, you know, might as well pick up a couple of those. We have what I think is probably one of the more useful pieces of kit for this team, and that is the Shadow Wave Grenade for 3 equipment points. The Shadow Wave Grenade, the way it works is it's like a smoke grenade. So for 1 AP, you place the center of one of your Shadow Wave tokens within 6 of this operative. That token creates an area of smoke with a 2 radius and unlimited upward height. Until the end of the turning point, an operative is obscured if every cover line drawn to it crosses an area of smoke. This operative can only perform this action once and cannot perform this action while within engagement range of an enemy operative. Spamming these, taking like 3 of them on a mostly melee-focused kill team, I don't think is a bad idea in allowing you to get up into, you know, like staging your operatives turn 1 and getting onto like objective markers that are out in the open, being able to cap those. Stuff like that, I think this might be a pretty useful one. So there are a few different rune equipment pieces in this kill team, so we'll talk about those now. The Rune of Shielding, you can only take one of these for 3 equipment points. Once per battle, when this operative fights in combat or a shooting attack is made against it, in the resolved successful hit step of that combat or shooting attack, you can ignore the damage inflicted on one of those dice. So for 3 equipment points, you're getting like just a scratch. So not as good, but you know, something. So definitely want to put that on your Exarch, I think, all of the time. Next up here, we have the Rune of Foresight. So Rune of Foresight, when you reveal this equipment, select one of your opponent's strategic or tactical ploys, excluding command reroll. The first time your opponent uses that ploy, you gain 1 CP. So if you're playing against, say, Orc Commandos or something, you can declare just a scratch to be your target for this, and then it's going to cost a little bit more CP for them every time they use it. Or excuse me, you gain a CP every time they use that ploy, or the first time. You're getting a free CP for 1 equipment point. It's an auto take. Just put it on like a Dire Avenger or somebody in your back line. The last equipment piece I have here for you is Rune of Prophecy. Once per battle, after rolling off to determine initiative, you can add or subtract 1 from your result. Now, Shane and I have talked about this one a little bit, and we can't ever think of a situation where you would want to subtract 1 from the result of your initiative roll. You know, and initiative can like swing games. For 1 equipment point, you can only take 1 of them. But I mean, hey, in my mind, that is an auto take. You got it. You got to take this. You got to take all 3 of the runes, I think. They're all so good. So your core for your equipment, I think, is going to be at least 5 equipment points. If I'm remembering correctly, there's no 2-point or like 2 cost pieces of equipment. It's just 3 or 1. So you're probably going to want to run at least like 2 Dire Avenger Warriors in this team, I would think. So probably taking some weaponized panoply just to round out your equipment selection so you're getting the full 10 points. I think that's going to be the way to go for this team. Gosh, we're at 45 minutes now in the recording. Just for yours guys' sake, I think I'm going to take a look at the other aspect techniques for the other ones. So the Howling Banshee aspect technique, Shriek That Kills. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Howling Banshee operative performs the shoot action. Until the end of that shooting attack, that operative is equipped with and must use the following ranged weapon. Shriek That Kills. 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, damage 1, 2, range 6, indirect, no cover, torrent 1, and stun. It's something. I mean, range 6 indirects, you don't get the benefit of cover. It's torrent 1, so you get to like do it again if there's another enemy model within one of it. I mean, I think that one's, it's something, you know, it's something. It doesn't cost you anything except like shooting with a shuriken pistol. Oh, Shriek That Kills and then Scream That Kills. Okay, they're 2 different things. Use this aspect technique at the start of this is Scream That Kills. Use it at the start of the successful hit step of a combat involving a friendly Howling Banshee operative. If you retain any successful hits, resolve 1 successful hit before the attacker. It must be used to parry. Dude, I think like the Howling Banshees are like the way to go with this team. Like the Striking Scorpions, I think they're not stacking up evenly for me. Next up for the Howling Banshee aspect techniques, we've got Acrobatic. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Howling Banshee operative performs an action in which it moves. It performs that action as though it can fly but cannot move more than circle. And then it says normal movement characteristics still apply if the operative is injured. That's freaking good. Rain of Tears for the Howling Banshee aspect techniques. Use this technique in the resolve successful hit step of a combat. After an active friendly Howling Banshee operative strikes with a critical hit, immediately perform a free dash or fallback action with that operative up to 3 as though it can fly. Do so even if that operative has performed an action during that activation that prevents it from performing the dash or fallback action, for example, charge. So you can charge, hit with a crit, and then fall back. If you charge an opponent, kill him in 1 hit with your crit, then you're able to dash back into cover or outside a line of sight or something. Yeah, yeah, that one's good. Howling Banshee aspect technique, the Woe. Use this technique during a friendly operative's activation, a friendly Howling Banshee operative's activation. After it has performed the charge action, incapacitated an enemy operative and is no longer within engagement range of an enemy operative. Perform a free charge action with that friendly operative using any remaining increments of movement from the first charge action. This aspect technique allows that operative to perform 2 charge actions to do so. So you can charge, you can fight, then you can perform another charge. I'm just trying to think of a scenario where I would want to use this. Because it's not, oh, perform a free charge. So it is free. So hypothetically, you could charge, fight, charge another model with your remaining increment, and you still have 1 action point left, I think, if I'm doing my math right. And then you can use, I think it's Blade Wind, yeah. So you can use the tactical ploy Blade Wind until the end of its activation. That operative can perform 2 fight actions. And this just triggers, it says, during a friendly Blade of Khaine operative's activation. So I think the way this could work is you can use that technique. You know, you kill your first model, you charge into another one, and it's still that model's activation. You know, you can say, I use Blade Wind for 1 CP, and then you can immediately perform an attack. So I think I want to pick up a box of the Howling Banshees, is what I'm trying to say here. Next up here we have, oh, these are the Dire Avenger ones. So those are all the Howling Banshee ones. So all the fun stuff over. Dire Avenger aspect technique, Raging Heat of the Dying Flame. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Dire Avenger operative that's injured or has its APL characteristic negatively modified is activated. Yeah, you just ignore it, basically. So, I mean, that can be useful. They have aspect technique, Unstinting Immovable. Use in the roll defense dice step of a shooting attack made against a Dire Avenger. If you retain any crit saves and discard 1 or more failed saves, select one of your failed saves to be retained as a normal save instead. Vigilance of the Avenger. Use this aspect technique when a friendly Dire Avenger operative performs the shoot action. Until the end of that shooting attack, that operative's Shuriken Catapult, Shuriken Pistol, or Twin Shuriken Catapult gains the no cover special rule, and that operative must make a shooting attack with it against an enemy operative in cover. Next up here we have Death of 1,000 Blades. Use this aspect technique after a friendly Dire Avenger operative performs the shoot action and uses a Shuriken Catapult or Twin Shuriken Catapult for that shooting attack. Make another shooting attack with that operative using the same weapon against another valid target within 2 of the first target. So it's like giving your, giving one of your Shuriken Catapults Torrent, basically. Like Torrent 2. Next up here we have the Slicing Hurricane. Use this aspect technique during a friendly Dire Avenger operative's normal move action. Perform 1 shoot action with that operative. During that normal move action, it must do so in a location it can be placed, and any remaining increments of movement can be used after it does so. You must select a Shuriken Catapult, Shuriken Pistol, or Twin Shuriken Catapult for the shooting attack. So, Fire and Fade, basically, is what this is. A pseudo Fire and Fade. So yeah, pretty good. I think I've run out of cards in my hand, so I think we've covered everything there is to talk about with this kill team. What I think overall is, I think like, you want the Striking Scorpions, like for the Exarch. All right, I think the Striking Scorpion Exarch, with the Scorpion's Claw, I think it definitely has a place, you know, 5 attacks. What do we got here? 5 attacks on 2s, damage 4/6 with brutal and lethal 5. You know, I think you want this model for your team at least. You want at least 2 Dire Avengers, I think. You know, the only long range shooting is going to be those Dire Avengers in your team. So running like all Howling Banshees or all Striking Scorpions, I think you're putting yourself at a bit of a detriment, because you know, long-range shooting, that's a big part of this game. Not having that in your kill team, you're kind of hamstringing yourself. So what? You can take another chainsword guy. Like, it doesn't seem like running mono faction is the way to go. And I mean, like the Dire Avenger Warriors, they're not even that good. It's not like they're armed with plasma guns. They're armed with rending bolters. So yeah. And then you also want to take them so you're able to score the Martial Harmony faction tac op. So overall, in terms of like list construction, I think you're going to want to go with either the Howling Banshee Exarch or the Striking Scorpion Exarch, followed by mostly Howling Banshees, and then at least 2 Dire Avengers. So, hey, I mean, if that's the case, then maybe the other tac op option is open as well, because what I just described has 3 different models in it. So I don't know, maybe that one is easily achievable after all. In terms of like overall competitive viability, like I don't want to be like safe and say they're in like B tier. I think I want to put them at a B minus, just because they don't have any. I don't even want to put them at B minus. I want to put them in like C, with like D being the lowest tier, so like just above D. They might even be D, dude. I do not know with this team. The reason I say that is because there's no like really good long range shooting. There's no plasma. There's no like fusion blasters. Nothing like that. They don't have any specialists, any like medic models, any models that can increase your APL, any models that just like give you like bonus CP, anything like that. But they do have those aspect techniques, which I think are like, they're mostly going to be situational at best. And I'm not really blown away by their strategic ploys or their tac ploys. I think their equipment's really good. I think their equipment can be potentially game winning. You know, the rune of add 1 to your initiative roll, I think can be huge. So whenever you tie off your opponent, you just go up 1, you got it. What else? What were the other ones? The rune of making the Orc Commando, whenever my opponent uses a strategic or a tactical ploy the first time, I get a command point for it. I think that one's pretty good. I don't think it's game winning, but I think it's pretty good. If you're playing a team and you know they're going to use something off the rip, you know, you can start with a 6-point lead or a six command points turn 1. You know, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think this team's really that good. I don't think they're going to be able to take any tournaments really, like higher level tournaments, stuff like Warhammer World Championship, the Warhammer World Championships and stuff. I don't think that they can like really compete in a meta like that. I could see a good player like topping like a locals event with them. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the new Blades of Khaine kill team down in the comment section below. While you're down there, make sure to join our Discord channel so we can keep talking about this kill team over on our Discord. You know, we've got over like 3,000 people all playing games on TTS, talking about the team, talking about other kill teams. And then, yeah, I think that's all I got for you. So guys, let me know what you guys think of the Blades of Khaine kill team in the comments down below. What do you think of them? Personally, I don't think that you can really go very far with them in a very competitive meta. I think like I could see a good player topping like a 14 player, like a micro RTT. Yeah, but unfortunately it doesn't look like this team can pack much of a punch against some of the other real meta defining teams right now. Guys, let me know what you think of the new Blades of Khaine kill team down in the comments section below. Make sure to join the Discord. Make sure to take a look at joining the Patreon. That's really how we keep the channel going here. Special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and our YouTube channel members. You know, like I said, you guys are the ones who keep the channel going here. So thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again in part 2 where we talk about the new Space Marine Scout Kill Team. See ya.